Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 70th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
Hello.
Was that an adequate pause for you to finish your sip?
Well, I didn't even take any yet, so I took it away before you were...
Oh, good. That worked out. And, of course, John Cena, JC, a.k.a. Fitzy, a.k.a. Liam.
Hey, what up?
What's going on? On this very special edition of Cinema Effect, we are also joined by Patrick Bateman's long-lost brother, a.k.a. the Soul Slayer himself, Luke.
Hello, not going to go for spooky there, or...?
No, that's sort of, I don't know, I feel like that's a Jaden thing. I feel like if Jaden ever, in episode 203, when you come back on and Jaden's being the host because I've died of lung cancer or something, then that he can use it then, you know?
Yeah, because we know you smoke a pack a day to die of lung cancer.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's the only way you can keep going.
It was all those hours of sitting in my grandmother's house is what did it, unfortunately. But we've brought Luke in for a very special analysis. Some might say the most in-depth analysis of this particular film ever attempted, which is very exciting, especially considering we all finished the film, you know what I mean? So that's that's going to be killer. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is American Psycho, which opened in the US on April 14th, 2000. It was directed by Mary Harron. It is a comedy crime film. And the synopsis reads, a wealthy New York City investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman hides his alternative psychopathic ego from his co-workers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies.
Hedonistic?
All right.
I go for hedonistic, you know, or am I wrong?
Isn't it hedonism?
No, it's because you're a hedon. It's hedonistic, for sure.
Really? Yeah. Because I feel like hedon, but then you change to hedon, you know? Small things.
No, I think you're just clearly. I think you're right about that.
All right, fine.
So we've all had interesting experiences with the film. So I'm going to start with those who hadn't seen it before. I'm going to start with Jaden. How'd you feel about American Psycho?
It was alright. I wasn't a massive fan, but I think because I went into it not wanting to be the person that idealizes it in the wrong way, I think I forced myself to dislike it too much. But then, like, watching it, I realized, like, there was nothing I had to be worried about because, like, what people idolize is so stupid that, like, I didn't have to be at risk of that. So, I mean, like, I think going into my perception of the film was already harmed in that way. So, like, I think it just it made it worse because of how I was viewing it. So, like, but, you know, I think it was fine. I think it's got an interesting message. I think it's, you know, sure, it's funny in parts, but, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of it by any means.
Sure. I'm sure we'll get into this, but I just, having now seen the film, I don't understand how, like, anyone can take this as anything but satire.
I think I just want to point out this movie made me like the Joker even less because I used to like the only saving grace for the Joker for me was that the ambiguous ending of was did Arthur actually do it? But then when I saw it was ripped straight from this film, I was like, the Joker's even worse than what it is. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go. Joker moves down from a 5 to a 4, or even more, whatever it was, a 4 to a 3. I think it feels really that.
Nothing one day.
God damn, that's a development I wasn't expecting. I enjoyed the movie. Not to discredit the work done by others and obviously some notable actors in here, but, you know, this is the Christian Bale show and he's a blast to watch. The movie worked best for me as a ridiculous comedy or parody, you know, and those moments, there's so many moments, especially earlier in the film where I'm sort of looking around like gritting, is this happening? Like, did he just say that? You know what I mean? And there's so many standout moments like that I think are hilarious and are really enjoyable. I do fear it may wind up being a bit on the forgettable side for me, though. You know what I mean? Like, even since a few days ago I watched it, haven't really thought about it a lot since. So it's sort of just one of those things. I enjoyed it. Don't know if it's going to stick with me long term, sort of thing. So that's where I'm at with it. Now, do Luke and Liam, do you want to do a coin toss here? You've both seen the film before. Who wants to jump in?
You can go, Luke, if you want.
Okay. This is my second viewing of this film. I watched this movie the first time earlier this year, or maybe later last year.
No, I think it was earlier this year. I feel like I remember you excited to texting the chat. Yeah.
Because it was because it's such a good movie, man. And I watched it again on Wednesday night. This movie was This is just a fun movie to watch. This is a good movie. Like, and I've been thinking about, because it seems like you're sort of not as over the moon as I am with this movie. And so I'm sort of thinking, okay, did you come into this movie looking for some sort of deep, moving sort of comment on society? And it's like, if you did, you might be disappointed. But if you came to this movie, if you decided I'm going to sit down, I bought this movie from, Video Easy, I'm going to have some popcorn, I'm watching this movie, you're watching it for the performance of Christian Bale. And the performance that's the movie. Like, so if you're saying, like, that's the movie. Like, that's why it's so good. It's not good because it's some sort of important political commentary on 80s yuppie culture or some kind of, no. This movie is fantastic because Christian Bale is fantastic.
I'm with you. That's all the positives I can think of as well. And by the way, I had an inner like Obi-Wan moment where I was like, Video Easy, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time, Video
Easy and Blockbuster, yeah.
All right, Fitzy, is this also your second time? I thought Luke had seen it more than twice. Is this your second time, Fitzy?
No, I've seen it a few times. It was a movie that was always free on YouTube for some reason, as I said. So
until now, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, not for German.
Did you watch the German version without even realizing it? Like, you just watched German, you just interpreted it like, just completely fine.
It's a cool foreign film.
Yeah, I watched the German version. But no, I think it's super funny, extremely quotable. I mean, it's really well made as well. Like, the directing is really great. Yeah, I wouldn't discredit the director. And Christian Bale is obviously very funny, very over the top in the role. I don't really believe Jaden when he says that people idolize Patrick Bateman because he's like he's so satirical and just up here in terms of like, over the topness. So like, I don't know.
I never went into that. I have like leaving that movie, going into the movie for the second time. That never crossed my mind. Patrick Bateman was never a character that was like, when I grow up, I want to be an investment banker.
Yeah, but Spooky, you're nothing like that.
Him.
I think we can agree that none of us in this call are anything like that. But there's.
I don't know. I'd love to do 1,000 crunches.
That made me sick watching it. I was like, fuck, I just can't.
I mean, building on this idea a little bit, like there are so many examples. Like the movie's absurd, but look, if I had to pick one, it's got to be this, right? Christian Bale says there are no girls with good personalities. The film ends directed by a woman. Like, come on, like how can it? You know what I mean? Like do you need anything more black and white than that?
In that conversation, like his friends even agree with him. Is like, yeah, women don't have personalities. If you find a smart girl, she's not going to be intelligent. But then he says, like, what Ted Bundy or some serial killer said about women, and he like says some totally crazy line. Like, one part of me wants to like treat her nicely, one part wants to like put her head on a spike, and then they're completely silent. Like, even they're ostracizing him, for his like totally. You can't even call it a radical opinion. It's like he's crazy, and it's like,
yeah, it's psychotic.
I don't think, so it's just, I don't think people idolize him, but I mean, if I saw someone that, genuinely talked about him like they did, maybe I'd see that.
I mean, at the end of the day, however you feel about Patrick Bateman, his music choice is spot on. We need to discuss the fact that his music is amazing. And that his playlist is pretty much my playlist.
I wanted to ask you what's your favorite song in the film.
Oh well, you see, that's difficult because
I wrote next to this a song, and I hope you say it because I hope I'm right.
Well, let me give you a breakdown of all the songs that I can remember. The Robert Palmer was the first song the artist that he was listening to in the car when he was like, "I'm trying to listen to the new Robert Palmer CD." But my wife, my fiance to be is just barking in my ear. She's irritating. Like when he's doing that sort of thing. That's the first one. Then there's Walking on Sunshine, which is, that's okay. Then there's Hip to Be Square, which is just fantastic. And then there's Susudio. But before that was In Too Deep. And then there was Simply Red. Oh, sorry, Lady in Red by Chris Delore or someone like that. And then Whitney Houston's song was in there. But they couldn't. Whitney Houston didn't actually give them the rights to play her song. So it's just the audio. But to answer Jaden's question, like Phil Collins is amazing, so I want to say Susudio, but I think I have to say Hip to Be Square because the scene.
I wrote Susudio.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Nah, I think because of the scene, I enjoy the song more because it's the sort of the lead up to it. And he's like, "You like Huey Lewis in the News?" And it's just that whole monologue that he gives is brilliant.
That whole music critic gag is hilarious. Like the fact that he just keeps like talking about music so like I love the scene when he's all this stuff's hilarious, but when he's got the two prostitutes there and he's like talking. I think he's talking about Phil Collins there, isn't
He's
he?
talking about Phil Collins, yeah.
And he like keeps interrupting himself every 10 seconds to like give her an order, like, what are you doing? Start dancing. What are you doing? Oh, it's Phil Collins.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. I mean, but like the points one of the things that's so interesting is that he's right. Like everything he says about Huey Lewis in the News is pretty spot on. He's like, I'm pretty much agreeing with him, everything he said. Early Genesis is way too intellectual to me, too indie. And then after Duke, when Phil Collins started singing, and then his solo career, but he works better with in confines with the group. It's like it's amazing. It's pretty much what I was thinking when I watched the movie. I didn't realize that Phil Collins thing was in there. I always knew that the Hip to Be Square was there, and then when they started doing Phil Collins, I was like, "That's my thoughts exactly."
It's not. It doesn't feel like it's his thoughts though. Like it feels like that's things he's read from.
He's been
like,
taught
an
to
article.
say, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely rehearsed it from some like highbrow like article that he's read from some like elite newspaper or something. Because like his whole personality is from other people and that kind of thing.
What's your favorite part about the Hip to Be Square scene? Is it the dance he does? Is it the sort of hey Paul? Like is it the moonwalk that he does? Is there a bit that you enjoy the most?
Oh God,
I think
because I do. I bring it up because I do have a favorite.
I think it's the hey. I really love the way they all talk. The exaggerated wealth that their voice just all their voice just exude. That it's like it's just so funny. Like in the way they talk. Like it's funnier than any kind of British accent will ever be. I mean, it's especially the way that Jared Leto's character talks.
Oh, dude. I mean, shout out to the whole business card gag. That shit was hysterical.
I've got a few things to say about that.
Go on.
So, okay, but first I'll say that my favorite thing in the Hip to Be Square was
my apologies. Yeah.
When Jared Leto says, "What's all the newspaper on the floor? You got a little dog?" He's like, "No, Alan. Is that a raincoat?" Yes, it is. The way he says yes, it is. The thing he does with the is, where he goes like, "Yes, it is," and like the is, that's just amazing. But they spell acquisition wrong.
They do.
So on the card, merger. Did I steal your trivia for later in the show?
No. You go for it.
Oh, you just knew that? Yeah, they spelled acquisition wrong. And
is that meant to be on purpose, or is that like an actual?
No, that was a mistake.
Okay, yeah.
And do you know the sound that they do when they sort of unveil the cards?
No.
That's they made that sound by pulling a sword out of its sheath. That's where that sort of
makes a lot of
sound
sense.
comes. So it's just like,
it's so good.
It's great.
But seeing her the fact that we're comparing business cards that look exactly the same is like funny enough as it is, right? Like that feels like it could be in like an Adam Sandler movie or something. But what really brings it into this movie and makes it extra hilarious is Patrick's his reaction to it, and he's genuinely
like, oh my God,
mortified by this.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
They're all vice president, which is a really nice touch.
Yeah, I saw that.
I noticed that, yeah. I noticed that on my second rewatch. I didn't notice that the first time. But then when I saw it this time, I was like, they're all vice president? And so that's probably, that's symbolic of the fact that they're all sort of the same.
Mm.
Reading about it in the trivia a little bit, this seemed to be very much the launching pad for Christian Bale's career as a leading man. I mean, if anything's going to do it, it makes a ton of sense that a performance like this would do it. And we're already doing it. But Luke, I'm gonna make you do it. Like, can you narrow down like your favorite Patrick Bateman thing in the movie? Have you already done it? Is it the pool scene?
So the hip to be square scene was my favorite after the first rewatch. I think my new favorite after my second is the confession at the end on the phone when he's talking to his lawyer and he's confessing all of the murders. Watching that on the second time made me appreciate the acting in that much more. That was a lovely scene.
Performance was killer there.
Apparently they did like 19 takes, and who's the director? Mary? She just kept feeding him caffeine the whole time. So like he was super, like he had so much coffee and like caffeine in his system. It was, and I think in one of the trivias it said like you can hear his Welsh accent when he's doing that because he's sort of screaming, his accent's dying.
Good. Yeah.
I think that's my new favorite scene.
That's a great choice right there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's my favorite Patrick Bateman thing. That confession scene.
Yeah. What about you, Fitzy? Any standout?
I don't know. I can't really think of the favorite thing. I think the intonations in general, as Luke said, like in that confession scene, he kind of talks differently in that scene. He's like, but he always has like a rhythm to his voice, like something that, like a line that I've always like is like in the back of my head is like how he says like, I just had to kill a lot of people, like that. It's like,
yeah,
there's so many lines like that where the expression is so like unique and American, and yeah, that I think he nails the best.
While we're in the vein of accents a little bit, I want to throw out there that during the shooting of the film, Christian Bale spoke in an American accent offset at all times. At the wrap party, when he began to speak in his native Welsh accent, many of the crew thought he was speaking that way as preparation for another film. They had no idea that he wasn't American.
I constantly forget he's British.
So did he?
Yeah.
But did he speak in like his American Psycho accent, like offset? Because that's crazy.
Hey, production assistant, get me some coffee. That kind of shit.
At the wrap party, it's like, hey Christian, where are we going to make reservations?
Oh my god, yeah. That's good. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably just be. I love that first. Like his narration is great. Like I love the narration. The choice to do that was really funny, and there's some killer lines in there. Like I don't know when he says, "Shocked in a most amazing way." Oh, hang on, here it is. Relief washed over me in a totally awesome way.
Yeah.
What was that? That got me good.
In a wave, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then just the whole thing with him, like, doing the 1,000 crunches and the beauty therapy in the morning. It's just like, wow.
Do you know that he says his address before he says his own name?
Mm-hmm.
He says like in the opening monologue at the start of the movie, he says, "I live on 249 Baxter Street. My name is Patrick Bateman."
Yeah, he flaunts his wealth from the outset.
Yeah, so that's like immediately known to the audience that he cares about his image more so than he does anything else.
I think the 1,000 crunches is definitely a joke, though, right? He's exaggerating.
I think so.
I don't know.
I do. Dude, 1,000 crunches, that's a lot.
The way he said it as well, it was like, I can do 1,000 now.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously a joke.
Oh, that was killer. Are there any other standout moments, Jan, that we didn't bring up? Because there's so many. There's so many.
Honestly, like as soon as he like stomped a dog, like I completely disassociated. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I just can't get behind anything. I was like, nah.
This man ain't funny anymore. He just murdered that dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, at least they didn't do what they did in the book. Apparently in the book, he didn't just kick the dog. He like completely gutted it. And it was described in like extreme detail, so they had to tone it down for the movie, I think.
That was I would not have wanted to have seen that. It was bad enough as it was. That whole that scene also when he like drops the chainsaw and it like lands on her. That was pretty goofy. I kind of enjoyed that.
That was goofy. Something I noticed on the second time rewatching it is that he wanted to eat her. He was expressing cannibalistic behavior. So that was really cool. Which I think is something that happened in. That's what happened. Well, because that's what happened in the novel. and then he mentions it at the end when he's talking about cooking them and eating them. I think that's something he did in the books.
He ate some of their brains.
Oh, yeah, right. He did say that. I want to talk about the ending, if you'll indulge me, the part that Jaden really liked. So, you brought up in your opening comments, Luke, the fact, expectations going into the movie, what are you expecting? And if you're expecting something deep, if you're expecting something a bit, some character stuff, some in-depth stuff, like, you're probably going to be disappointed. I sort of feel the opposite way, to be honest. I think the film, I didn't go in expecting that at all. Totally expectations met in that regard for 3/4 of the film. And ironically, probably almost based on what Jaden said, probably about exactly where he lost the feed there. At that point, the film, to me, just started, it started trying to do that. It started like, okay, now let's try and give you some in-depth character. Like, why, the end narration, to be totally honest, I don't understand that at all. I have no idea what happened. Like, I feel like the whole movie, for me, my experience with watching it was that I was in on the joke. Like, I'm like totally on this ride. And then when the end hit, I felt like, oh, I don't really get it anymore. Like, I think it went over my head, to be totally honest. I don't know. So,
what part do you not?
At the dinner table or at the
I got
lunch
no
table?
idea. I got no idea what he's talking about. Like, what the hell is he talking about? I don't get it at all.
So, like, about
You need to narrow it down. Which part of the ending are you talking about? The confession on the phone, or just after he talks to his lawyer?
Are you talking about like the very end, like where it's like zooming on his face and like he's delivering that?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the movie's trying to be like, it's trying to leave me with something there. I feel like it's trying to leave me with a message, and I'm not picking it up. Am I off base here? Or are you getting something out of this, Luke?
Well, I know that the ending, that monologue, is ripped pretty much from the book. A few things are different. So I think that can attribute to the reason why you think it's out of place, because it could have been like, oh, let's, respect the book and let's put the ending in the movie. But then there hasn't been the proper setup to it. I think the whole point of the ending, so the dialogue just means that killing doesn't do anything for him, and confessing hasn't done anything for him either. Like, I'm pretty sure that's just what it means. I don't think it's anything more deep than that.
Right. Okay. So he's like that much of a psycho. He's like that insane that like that doesn't even right.
Yeah, because I think like you could almost consider like that's what he's been trying to do the whole movie, right? That's his like, if you will, that's his character arc. He's trying to tell people. He's giving off hints. He says, the Ted Bundy joke, or not the joke, the quote. No comment from anyone. At the start of the movie, when he's talking to the waitress at the club, and he hands her like a credit card, and she says, "No, this is cash only," and he sort of swears at her and yells at her. No one gives him anything. After he kills the girl with the chainsaw, and he's talking to his fiance, he's drawing on the table at someone getting the chainsaw off, and he's trying to tell him, or tell her rather, I need help. She's not saying anything. When he invites the secretary over, he's like, I don't want to hurt you. She thinks it's more about a relationship because she just got the voicemail of the fiance, right? So she's thinking that when he says, I don't want to have to hurt you, I can't control myself, she's thinking it's more sort of, okay, he's bad with relationships. He's being very literal. He's like, I'm literally going to hurt you, but no one's listening. He does the confession on the phone at the end, and then he talks to his lawyer, and his lawyer goes, yeah, that was a nice joke. And there's no consequences for him killing anyone. What he's wanted this entire film, this confession, means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. And I think that's the whole point of that ending monologue.
That's really interesting. So it's like he wants attention.
Well, because what kind of society is he living in, right? 80s yuppie culture. Everyone at his firm looks the exact same. People mistake people for other people. He has no identity. So how does he react? I'm gonna kill people. That'll get people's attention, and that doesn't get anyone's attention at all. And so, like, I think that's the point. I think that's the point of that final confession, saying, no matter how hard I try, like a normal person, if they want to stand out, would wear a hat or maybe wear a jumper or get a new style of glasses, right? But Patrick Bateman is psychotic, so the way that he tries to stand out is that, well, he's going to try kill people. He's going to try and not just kill people, but kill them extremely, chainsaws, nail guns, and keep the bodies, So that's him trying to stand out. That's him trying to have his own individual identity, which you can tell he has identity problems. The way that he looks in the mirror in the studio scene, that's all he cares about. He cares about his own self-image, his
Describe
own
it as
personal
the
identity.
scene.
Yeah, well, I don't want to... the studio scene. I relate to the music more than the killing. But I think that's the point. I think he's trying to stand out. He's trying to have his own identity. And he's trying to confess. And he gets nothing. So I think at the end, that's when the pin drops. When he sort of pans around, or the camera pans around and looks at everyone. And he realizes they don't care at all. That's when he sort of goes, okay, this confession means nothing. That's how I've interpreted it.
I think it's that they won't let him break free, because he both strives for conformity and fitting in as well as breaking out. So I don't think it's that they don't care about what he's done, because what he's done in the end is, I take it as hypothetical. I don't think he really followed through on it at all. But I think it's that, like, when he says stuff like this, they're not letting him break free of that, like, mold of where they are from. They don't want to allow that individualism, or it's kind of that type of thing.
Well, I have a way that can make our ideas work, but I have a contradiction, and that being that he explicitly says, "I want to fit in."
Yeah,
he yells that to his fiancée. He says, "I just want to fit in." So is society forcing him to think that he wants to fit in? So that's why he sort of is reciting the music dialogues, because society has said, if you want to fit in, you have to be like everyone else. And then he tries to be like everyone else, and then realizes, I can't be like everyone else. I need to stand out and be individual. And then he tries to escape.
Yeah, I think that comes from I think that just comes from a place of him being ill. Like, he's not a psycho, but he's clearly ill, I think, throughout the So
I think he's a psycho. He's psychotic.
Sorry, he's a psycho, but he's not the psycho he thinks he is. Rather, because he's not this glamorous killer. He's just a psycho that kills hobos, right? But I think I think that line of him wanting to fit in, I think that does, while it may speak more to him wanting that conformity on the surface, I think it speaks more to his mental state, and like him kind of being this, like, I don't know which one's the correct term, but like this kind of dissociative identity disorder, or whatever one it is, but like he kind of has this kind of, I don't know, schizophrenic type of tendencies or something like that. Maybe it's just like that kind of duality within him or something like that.
This is really interesting. I love when this happens. Like, this is totally changing my understanding of the film, which is great. This also puts into perspective for me some weird scenes in the movie. Like, there's that scene when everything with Willem Dafoe is weird in the movie. Like, every conversation he has with him, I'm just like, I don't, and it's in the trivia actually. I'll sort of bring it up that way. For Willem Dafoe's scenes, Mary instructed him to play each one in 3 different styles. 1 as if he's suspicious of Patrick Bateman, 2 as if he has no clue as to Bateman's guilt, and 3 as if he is undecided. It worked because I had no idea what the hell Willem Dafoe was thinking. I didn't understand if he was onto him or not. But then there was that moment when, like, Christian Bale, like, basically, like, just admitted that he did it, when he was just like, when they were sitting down in the restaurant, I think, and Willem Dafoe's like, oh, so I'm here to ask you more questions about Paul, and Christian Bale's just like, oh, so did you find any fingerprints? It's like, dude, like, like, he just totally, I'm like, what the hell? But that's really interesting if he's so desperate, for people to sort of recognize him as what he's doing. But, that's sort of just bubbling out onto the surface. That makes a lot of sense. Fitzy, how do you feel about everything we've been talking about? Do you like the ending? Do you like all this stuff right here?
Yeah, I like the ending. I like the ending monologue. Like, I don't know what every word of it means. I don't really get the entire point of it, but I do think the ending in general is like really like how he talks. He admits everything to the lawyer, but I think he did kill Paul. And that the lawyer is just seeing another faceless business suit that he thinks is Paul in London, and like even Patrick Bateman himself, Willem Dafoe thinks like he gets an alibi that he's with other people at some dinner, because everyone's always at dinners and they all look the same, so it's like it's understandable that he can get confused as another person, especially because Paul himself gets him confused with Mark Halberstram or whatever his name is. So I like that he admits everything. He's trying to tell the lawyer, and it's kind of meaningless because he can't. He's so faceless that he can't get caught, kind of,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one part of it I like, but like my punishment continues to elude me. I don't really know what that exactly means, but I like the way it sounds. It sounds nice.
He doesn't get. I think it means he doesn't get caught, right? The law, the justice.
Yeah, no,
I guess so.
in that little sense, but like why he's seeking that punishment, I think is what Fitz is more talking about.
No, I guess it could mean that as well, but there's like other lines. What else? He's like, my pain is sharp and constant, and I don't know, like there's lines at the end which are very interpretable, and like I don't know what it all means, I guess.
He could speak to his mental illness.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to his state, but I can't like, like English class pull out every sentence and like, what does this one mean? I wouldn't know where to go.
This is all, for me, something's been unlocked right here, I like this a lot. Wasn't thinking about, there is, I mean, sort of, I'm sure you would probably agree with me now, Luke, after this, but this sort of disproves what you said at the start. There is deep stuff here, like this is cool.
Well, I think there. I mean, there is. I didn't say there wasn't deep stuff. I said if you go into this film looking for deep stuff, you won't enjoy it. So I think that's like. I was about to say. I'll say it. I was like, there needs to be high intellect to watch this film and appreciate it fully. But that just sounds cool. So, but like, I think you will. I personally believe you will enjoy this movie the most if you go in just looking at the performance, because that's what's funny and that's what's fun to watch. But like, I think if people try to find meaning, they can get confused because the film has a lot of inherent contradictions. And it has situations where it's like, I think there's a quote from Mary that says like, people were coming out of the theaters saying, did any of this actually happen? Is this real? And she was like, oh no, that's not the point. I didn't want to make that point at all. He's certainly not innocent. So I don't want people to think this didn't happen. But then there's like, well, what happened to Paul Allen's apartment? What happened to all the bodies?
That's really interesting, yeah.
I think that scene, when I first watched the movie, I really don't like that scene, and I've tried like to analysis
the apartment
when he goes back and it's all painted white, and they're trying to.
I love that scene.
I think. Well, I want to hear what you want to say about it, Liam. I'll give you my ideas that I haven't really thought about. The first thing I noticed when I started watching the movie is that Patrick Bateman's apartment is white. Like the walls are white, everything white, and then there's like black portrait, like black frames and things, so it's a black and white sort of thing. I'm thinking, are they making a new Patrick Bateman? Like, is this just going to become another breeding ground for a faceless person? Like, because that's the first thing I saw. Like, everything in the room is white. It's all painted white. The floors are white and everything. I was like, okay, is this like a cycle? Is someone going to come in here and become a part of this culture, become psychotic, kill people, go to a different apartment, and then when they come back, it's all painted white? I wasn't sure if that was the point, if it was like some sort of cycle they're trying to continue. And I feel like I'm trying to find meaning in it because I don't understand it. And so it's like, I think if people sort of watch that, they might go, well, and like sort of start to question everything that's happened, especially because it happens so late in the movie. If it happened in the middle, then maybe things that happen after that, they could be like, oh, okay, so that's what that was about. But it happens so late that I think majority of audiences, certainly me on the first time, was like, well, what did I just watch? If it's not real, what the hell have I just been watching for an hour and 30 minutes? So, Liam, what do you have to say about that?
I love the scene because it feels like it's saying that it is real because the real estate agent that he talks to, he's looking for the bodies. He can't find anything, and everything's been refurnished or whatever. And he talks to the real estate agent, and she's like, he's searching the cupboard for the bodies, and she sees that, and he's like, "How'd you get here? Did you look for the ad in the Times?" And then he was like, "No, yeah, the ad in the Times." And then she was like, "There was no ad in the Times," and like, "I suggest you get out." So, and then Patrick is like, he's backing away, and he's like really afraid. So it's like, I feel like that's the scene where she knows, that he's done all that, and then the bodies have been taken away or something. Like when you see the apartment, it's like sheer panic because it's like what has happened to the place where all the bodies are,
So is that covering for him, or is that just more psychological torture? Because on one hand, it's like, oh, I did you a solid. The bodies are gone. You're fine. On the other hand, it's like, I've covered the bodies. I've painted the room white. Now I'm making you question what you've done. So is that starting to make him question himself? Like, did I actually do all these things?
She says, like, I suggest you leave. And, like, I think she's a real estate. Like, I think she just can't be bothered. She either can't be bothered or she knows that he's like too, that she won't be able to, be able to turn him in or whatever. She's just another person doing her job, doesn't really care about these people. I don't know. But are you saying it's like she's trying to trick him or something? Or
Well, that idea just came to me after what you said.
Mm.
And I don't know. I feel like that scene just shouldn't have been in the movie. But the fact, I think the problem is just her being there. Because now, is that a witness? Is that someone who's now helping him? Like that's what I'm confused about.
But cause I think along Liam's lines, is she not just another part of that culture, but just in like a different?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of.
Yeah, so like she just doesn't care, and she just wants conformity, and she just cleaned it up and done it because that's her job. So that's what she's meant to do, and that's why she did it.
But also, yeah, that's a good point. But also, like, maybe she won't be able to actually bring him down because he's in such a high place in society where it's like.
I don't think that's the case because I feel like if she had to just call the police to the apartment, I think there would have been evidence everywhere, and they would have been able to do it. I just think it's a case of if we're going along the lines of this all actually happened, and and that line, I think it's more along the lines of that she is just part of it, and she just wanted to move on, and she just doesn't care, and she's probably used to it even if she's into like that high end luxury housing market.
Oh yeah,
she's probably experienced it before, and that's why she can just move on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting there. I think like the actual moment where she's like, "Oh, did you see the ad in the Times?" And then there is no ad in the Times. That's like such a, I don't know, like that whole scene is just like it's it's a kind of a shock to Bateman, and it's directed in such a great way as well. Like I think the film is very well directed by Mary Hannon. But yeah, I agree with Jane on that. I think
I'm liking that idea more and more
Yeah.
because I'll ask a question, an open-ended question. What do you think about the portrayal of women in this film? Because it seems to me, so there's one instance that sort of was a bit weird to me. In one of the scenes when Patrick is leaving a bar, there's a woman walking. Model. No, not with the model. I think it's before then. He's walking by himself. I'll get to the model later because that sort of is a part of the idea as well. He's walking to a stop sign or like a traffic sign, and they're walking at two different paces. She's sort of slowly moving and he's like speed walking. They get to the traffic lights and they stop and they look at each other and they sort of go like, hey, hey. And then they walk at the same pace. across the crossing. So, and then she doesn't appear again. She's one of the persons that he kills. And so I'm looking at that. I'm saying, okay, is this supposed to mean that women are attracted to this culture and that they want to be a part of it? And then I look at the model. The model says, what does she say? She says like, there's something about you, Patrick.
There's a kindness about him.
And so it's like, okay, she's seeing something in him that she wants. Okay, so now I'm getting the idea that women want to be a part of it, maybe. And then Jean, the assistant, conforms to what Patrick tells her. He says, wear a skirt, wear something nicer. She does that in the subsequent, like every other scene in the movie. And then Jean herself says that she's drawn to unavailable men. And so I'm saying, okay, so she's drawn to unavailable men. The person crossing the street stopped and started walking with Bateman. The model says that there's something about Bateman that she's enjoying. And they were like, I completely forgot about the assistant. So they were like the only 3 women in the movie I could think about. And so I'm saying, okay, are they trying to tell us something? Is the director trying to say that women are sort of wanting to be a part of this? And so now the fact that the maid is in it and protecting it.
The maid?
So she doesn't. Sorry, not the maid. The real estate agent. The real estate agent's in this culture now. She made it. Good for her. Now she's trying to protect it. So I'm liking that idea that it's sort of like they're sort of wanting to be drawn to this, and so now that scene's making a little bit more sense to me when I picture it in that light.
I think I disagree. I think you have points there that might fit, but I think as a whole, I disagree about that because I think
okay.
It's
so what do you think
because
the women are there for?
I don't know what they're there for. I don't really.
Yeah, who knows why any women's in any
No,
movie?
I mean, I don't mean that in sort of like a sort of. I mean, they've been put in this movie for a reason.
Yeah.
No director does things just for fun.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So like, I'm trying to find a message in it. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, but that's what I think you have some. I think some of the points you pick up on are kind of valid. But I think as a whole, it's not. I think that thing about the real estate agent being in there only to protect the culture is. I don't think that's true. Well, to be fair, we don't really know what's happening with the real estate agent, so who am I to speculate on that? But I think it's interesting that the only people that like really reject Bateman are the model and the prostitute, right? So like they're the only people that call that because. They do it in different ways, but like the model acknowledges the kindness about him, and like she acknowledges a part of him that no one else does, which is interesting because like usually it's like the models that are shown to be like the vain type in films and literature and stuff like that. So I think using her as someone that can see past him, not to actually what he really is, because obviously he's not kind, but to see through a veneer of him and into something else, I think is interesting. And I think the fact that the prostitute recognized that she drugged him and like that he used her and all that stuff. And I think the fact that she calls him out and says, no, I don't trust this. I don't want to do that again and stuff. I think that's interesting because if anything, typically in media, it's that kind of sex work that would need that. And then because, they need to thrive off that and that's their business. So I think using them as a counterpoint is to what his actual personality is like is interesting. And I don't really know where it leads to, but I just think that kind of goes against what you're saying.
Well, how does he eventually get the prostitute back into the car?
Money. He just pays her.
Money. Well,
but like
it's
not a willingness. But she's not after that because she's after that because she needs to survive. It's not because she's attracted to it. It's just what she needs to do.
Well, then maybe that's the point. In order for women to survive in this society, they need to play a part in the fantasy of these faceless men.
Yeah, I can see that, but then he also has that rich friend later on, the one that he eats in the studio scene.
Yeah. Oh no, he doesn't eat her. He eats her in the
the Whitney Houston one.
Whitney
yeah,
Houston
that's right.
scene.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The greatest love of all.
And I think it's set up that she's established on her own because she says, "Oh, we met back in '87 at the rodeo or whatever," like some kind of, and like so like if you're talking about like as a general in the film, I think she again breaks that mold. She's still there with him, but I don't think it's for the reason that you're trying to say.
The stomp thing, but the first, I think the first kill, that woman, like after they cross the street, it cuts to, I don't know, he's in his home or his office or something, and he's like, well, okay, when he's the model, he has like a piece of her hair that he's playing with at the table, and then after that scene, he has like blood somewhere or something. So like it's like an instant cut, and then you can see like a smidge of something that tells you that he killed her, and that's like examples of like like subtle details in the film, like good directing, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think there's a general like overall thing it's saying about women, but maybe, I don't know.
There's a reason they're there, but there's no set rule.
Yeah.
The cuts in this movie were fantastic. I noticed that as well. It would cut from like extreme horror or suspense to sort of him in the office or him at a club, some sort of really mundane thing. I thought that was really, really effective.
On this topic, you guys have won me over. Fitzy's won me over on this because I was coming in direction. I totally agree. I think, like we talked about, the direction given to Willem Dafoe and direction given to actors is really solid, and the cuts are good too. I didn't really notice some of them, so that's awesome. But I was going to come in and sort of criticize elements of the production. The score's pretty non-existent, pretty uninteresting, and it sort of at times feels like, like a low budget film. It feels like a B-level sort of production. But, the more I think about it, that's an initial note I had, but you guys are winning me over on this, so I want to throw that out there because especially when I think about some of the murder scenes and, the blood's sort of ridiculous and doesn't look great or anything, but that sort of contributes, I think, to the scenes, that element of like, this is sort of goofy and weird. Yeah, go for it, Jay.
It's interesting because like Spooky sent something in the Discord about like this one review about like how in the review it says Mary's like a Fincher in this instance, but like I never got Fincher. I kind of got like I like it honestly feels more like an intelligent Tarantino than it does a Fincher film.
And
like
I love that.
And like when you look at the DP is the same as Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and you can feel that in the way that he shoots the violence. Yes, in the way that it feels that. So I'm sure it was more director and like production team that was more on like the saturation of blood and all that stuff, but like in the way that it's shown in the spray and it feels like a Tarantino thing, and it just feels like a more intelligent Tarantino to me than it does a Fincher at all.
I totally agree with that. I'm so glad you brought that up. I had no idea about that DP comparison. That's spot on. I totally get that from the way the blood's shot and the violence is shot, 100%. Also,
while we're talking about production, I know it's like he has the grossest kitchen of all time. It is just disgusting. It's the worst looking kitchen I've ever seen. That's the point. It's horribly industrial and it looks like a morgue, and it is because he has bodies in it. Sure. But if someone tried to sell me an apartment with that and they tried to put like a couple $1 million price tag and give me that as a kitchen, I would be disgusted.
Oh, really?
That's a horrible kitchen.
What did you think about the magnetic knife stand? Did you notice that?
No.
He had a magnetic board, and the knives were like placed on it instead of like being shoved into blocks.
It's pretty sick, actually.
Yeah.
But the rest of the kitchen, no, that's yeah.
It's probably something that would have been a bit more relevant earlier, but it's something Fitzy's brought up on the show before, and I just it needs to be in this episode somewhere, 100%. So I'm doing it now. Trivia. Looking for a way to create the character of Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale stumbled onto a Tom Cruise appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. According to co-writer and director Mary Harron, Bale saw in Cruise this very intense friendliness with nothing behind the eyes, and Bale subsequently based the character of Bateman on that. Interestingly, Tom Cruise is actually featured in the novel. He lives in the same apartment as Bateman. It's sort of funny.
I always forget that Cruise has been he's been around that long, and because Top Gun was like 86, and he actually would have been embedded in this kind of, obviously not that extent because it's in different industries, but he would have been a part of that kind of culture. So yeah.
Totally, because I think of Tom Cruise for no real reason, sort of being most relevant in the mid '90s. You know, sort of coming up then. But that's right. That's completely wrong. Like
No,
Top
yeah.
Gun, absolutely, and
Risky
well,
business
'cause-
and that.
yeah. Absolutely. And then when I read this trivia, I was like, Tom Cruise is in the novel? Like, what? Like, did anyone know who Tom Cruise was? Yeah, totally off on that. Yeah, that's really interesting.
It took me so long to figure out that this was set in 1988 because I just assumed it was 2000 and like because like, it was made in 2000. I was like,
I only knew because of the synopsis. I
was
think.
like, these are all a bit dated. And then like he's talking about like Gorbachev and like he's talking about like and he's talking about like when he's like giving that spiel about like the state of the world. I was like, yeah, no, these are definitely outdated references. And
Maybe that's contributing to the yeah.
I have some trivia about the novel, or the film, novel to film adaptation.
Throw it out there. Go for it.
So in the novel, the line. Do you know the line? "Don't touch the Rolex."
No.
So no, you've never heard that before.
Are you talking about
Don't touch the Rolex. So not necessarily in the film, and sort of general.
No, I only know it from the film. No.
So that line comes from the novel. Don't touch the Rolex. But Rolex wouldn't give them permission to use it, so instead it's don't touch the watch.
It's like some other fancy brand, isn't it?
No, he just says watch.
Oh, okay.
It's probably you're right. It's probably another brand. It's probably not a Rolex, because if Rolex didn't give clearance to use the name, they probably didn't give clearance to use the actual product.
It's like how Apple doesn't let villains use iPhones.
iPhones, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
oh,
that's a real
villains
thing.
ever use
That's
iPhones.
hilarious.
That's hysterical.
That's
I
great.
love that.
There's a lot of brands that are mentioned in the film though. Like there's that one, like that one character who's gay and who he tries to murder in the bathroom was like they're always talking about what brand the suits are and like the watch and stuff like that.
And the overnight bag that Paul stuffed in.
Yes, when he walks past. Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was in the moment. I thought that was weird, but it makes a lot more sense with all these conversations we've been having. That like everyone just ignores is clearly dragging a body out of the apartment.
Yeah,
I like how it's all like taxi drivers and like limo drivers as well, and like they never question anything that he does.
Yeah.
I think that more speaks to Spooky's point about wanting to be involved in that culture.
Yeah, and the when he drags the body out, the camera focuses on the what's that guy like? The guy at the front.
Trail of Blood.
No, like the guy at the front desk, and he looks at him dragging the bag that looks like a body along, and he just like it just ignores it. He just looks back at his newspaper, and that kind of adds to that.
Jaden, this was your first watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts when he so after he tries to feed a cat to the ATM machine and he goes into his office building and the dude at the bottom's like, "How's it going, Steve?" And he pulls out a gun and shoots him. Did that make you laugh? That got me, because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to sort of like just run away, but then now there's this interaction between him and the sort of security guard at the sign-in desk. He's like, "Oh, you need to sign in," and then he just like fumbles around in his jacket pocket and pulls out a gun. I thought that was quite funny.
I mean,
it's weird to say funny describing that, but
wow, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
In that scene, he goes to a building, and as you said, the guy says, like, "How are you doing, Mr. Smith?" Because he thinks he's someone else, right? And then he kills him because he thinks that's his building. But then he goes to another building which looks exactly the same, and that's his actual building, And then he pulls out the pen instead of the gun.
Shout out to the opening credits and the stylish, like food on display and the classy music. Enjoyed that a lot.
I do that. Could you imagine reaching a level of wealth where like you go out for like an, I don't know, like if it was lunch or dinner or whatever, and like, oh, $570, that's reasonable. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I've gone to restaurants with like I know like a massive group of 12 people, and it's not reached anywhere near that price. It's
yeah.
God, that's disgusting.
I mean, $20
there was like 4 of them, right? So let's assume like each of their dishes were like probably like $90, and like they had 2 drinks each, like for $45ish each or something like that. Like that's ridiculous. Probably more than that. Yeah, it's dude, it hurts me.
You just don't respect the grind, Jaden. You know?
Yeah.
You just don't get it. Oh, he also, it's funny, he actually like never works in the film. Like,
Mm.
when he gets to his office, he turns on the TV
Yeah.
and puts his like feet on the desk, you know?
Well, that's what's interesting because that's Reese Witherspoon, right? Was that? Was she?
Yeah, it was.
The
Yeah. Okay.
fiance.
Yeah.
Wife, yeah.
Yeah, because she's like, your dad practically owns the company, and and I was expecting that to be a thing. I was expecting like a meeting with the dad, but then like there was never anything more to that. I was kind of expecting something more
Yeah.
from that side and like how kind of gets away with that. But you know.
Do you know that the receptionist, Jean, whenever he walks into the building and she sort of gives him the sort of, you have a 2:00 meeting, the meetings are never about work. All the sort of, can you make a 6:00? They're all about getting drinks at Harry's or, going out to a club. They're never about work.
Mm.
And this man claimed he was busy.
Yeah.
Videotapes.
He was running
Yeah.
Oh, we never see Dorsia in the film. Dorsia,
Yeah.
the restaurant that they
The
always
So
talk about.
exclusive that the audience doesn't even get to see it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the MVP of the film, the pig that Reese Witherspoon was holding at the Christmas party?
That was funny. That was good.
Yeah, it was.
That seems like the most out of place thing in this film. Like, why on earth is she holding a pig?
What does the pig represent, Luke? Tell us.
What does it represent? The
Capitalist
innocence
greed.
of... Yeah. The facial expressions in that are phenomenal. Like, when I was rewatching the Hip to Be Square scene, which I'll bring up all the time, after he kills him and his face is like, it snaps straight to nothing. And when he's talking, he does the laugh he does, where he sort of like cackles and points and then straight back.
Yeah.
And how he can give such a solid stare is what is just amazing.
When he goes to the when he exits the laundry shop, as soon as he gets to the street, you can just see his face like turn, cold. It's
Yeah,
great.
because like he already has to go from like extreme anger to like some kind of pleasantry because someone like he recognizes comes in, and then he has to change again.
Did something happen before that scene?
No.
So the sheets were red, right?
That's what I was talking about. So yeah, you got the stop sign scene, and then he's in
so
the
is that
laundry.
exactly after that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense because I didn't even realize that. Despite how much I liked the stop sign scene, the next scene when they cut to the laundromat and there's blood and he says it's cranberry juice all over the sheets, I was like, where the hell did that come from?
I thought that was a separate occurrence as well.
Yeah, that makes much more sense now.
All right, that was a very in-depth conversation. I enjoyed it very much. But look, you went into all the effort to write in a review for American Psycho before you were jumping on here. So, like, what's the deal with that? Like,
I wrote that review on Tuesday, and I got the all clear that I was coming on Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
you signed all the paperwork. Yeah.
I signed all the paperwork. I had your, text file number. All that was given to you. Yeah. Let me look up this review because I forgot what I wrote.
We're not actually paying you, by the way. We just wanted your tax file number so we can steal your identity.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
100%.
It's all right. I'm actually Patrick Bateman, so I don't have an identity, so there's absolutely no problem at all.
You see, that's the people I was talking about, Fitzy, the ones that identify idealize and want to be him.
Now, I don't want you to read the whole thing unless there's anything extra compelling in your final verdict that should be compared. But you do reveal your score in there, so I want you to reveal that to the audience now. What is your final verdict on American Psycho?
There's nothing else. The review, I'm pretty much, I'll stand by it. I'll quickly just say that to add to Liam's point of like how they quickly cut and they leave subtle details, like the Texas Chainsaw in the background on the TV. That was a really nice foreshadow. But I'm gonna give this movie. Are we doing scores now? Is that what we're doing?
Yep, we sure are.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10.
For you though, that's the equivalent of any normal man's 13 out of 10, though, isn't it? So
it is, yeah. So that's how you know I'm serious.
All right, Jan. Final verdicts.
Yeah, I don't know, because like through talking about it, I feel like I've liked it a lot more, and like I really appreciate what it tries to say and what it does say, and I really like the performances. In fact, I like everything about the movie, but it's just that because I went into it trying to dislike it, so I don't become part of like the mold.
I love that, by the way.
Because of the mold of like it's like I just can't get over like this figure of like a 5 or a 6, but like it deserves more than that. So I mean, like, I don't know. Like, do I give it a 7 and call it a day? Because like it's kind of like, nah, 6. We'll give it a 6.
It deserves more than a 6.
It deserves more, but it's what it gets.
Must not become like 4chan user. Must not become just repeating that your whole time. I'll give the movie a 7. I think this movie, it's everything I've said about it, but this conversation elevated all the things that I was like, don't know about that. This is sort of weird. This is incomplete to me. So it's a strong 7 for me. Potential to go up, actually, to be honest. But I'll stick with the good old 7. I enjoyed the movie a lot. Check it out if you haven't. Although, why would you be listening to this point? We've dissected it so deeply.
Are we not going to ask Liam or
He's boycotted scores.
boycotted scores? Well, can you give me like a yay, nay, or a meh?
That
Okay,
like
so
it's a yay.
I'll
I'll
give a
maybe so.
summary, I guess, if Luke wants it.
I would very much like it.
I really like the film, and I think it's pretty well made and funny. And what's his name? Christian Bale is great. That's my summary.
We will not do news chat because we're going long, and there's nothing really that interesting anyway. The show's better off ditching it this week, I think. So let's get into our highlights of the week. Jaden, what have you been watching?
I finished an anime called I think Spooky might have seen it, called Toradora. You've seen Toradora, haven't you?
Describe it to me. I don't remember the names.
It's about this girl called Tiger and this guy called Ryuji, and they're in high school.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
I feel like I remember talking to you like ages ago. Yeah, that show's great. Like it fucking broke me apart and built me up again like 38 times. Like it's devastating, and like it's so great. Like it's just a simple slice of life, but like it's so fully realized and well realized that it really does like stand above like a lot of other ones. I think so. This was made in like 2008, so I think it's like since then we've been quite spoiled for like anime in that genre. So like it's as a modern viewer, it kind of loses some of its uniqueness and touch, but it's still brilliant. I think the characters are really fantastic. Like, dude, animes know how to write a character so well. I mean, like, not necessarily well, but they know how to make you feel for a character. You know, they know how to make you feel for a character, like unlike most other mediums. Yeah, it's great.
It's all the grunting. You just get to really connect with them, you know, like emotionally.
It's very great.
Terrific. What about you, Fitzy?
Den of Thieves.
Oh shit.
Oh shit, yeah. It's kind of like a, kind of junk food, like what do you call it? Like heist film. Like two groups in LA, like a cop group and obviously like robber group, and like they're both like elite, units or whatever, kind of like Heat.
Elite unit, kind of like Spooky.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And it's a very fun movie. It's like I really like heist films. Heist films are very satisfying. Just when you hear the plan and then the plan goes into action, but like there's a change in the plan, you don't know what's happening. But then at the end of the film, they explain there's like this is why
there
this
was
change.
another layer to the plan the whole time.
There's another layer to the plan. And it's like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting that there would be another layer to this heist, and there was. But Jared Butler's is that how you say it? Jared Butler's really good. Draft Butler.
Draft Butler, yeah.
He's like this, like rugged cop dude. He's really great in the film, and it's a good action film. I think I really like it.
Dude, I just love Ice Cube Jr. You know, chuck him in everything.
Oh yeah, Rashid Jackson. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, he's great. I feel bad because I was going to ask earlier, but I totally had my terrible anime joke, and then we all just needed to move on real fast. Jade, would I like the anime you watched?
In a general sense, yes, but you wouldn't probably get behind it fully. You know,
Okay.
I think you'd be able to appreciate the general story, and I think you'd be able to appreciate some of the character moments, and maybe even some of the characters. But I think it is a bit too anime for you, a little bit,
Okay.
just in terms of the way that some shit happens and some of the things it does. But
Okay.
I think honestly, like back when this came out, I think it became one of like the most popular and like one of the best reviewed slice of lives of all, just like anime. So like, it could be a good jumping off point, but I don't know. Seeing your track record and how you feel might not be. I still think you need to
Okay.
watch like 5 Ghibli films before you can really watch any anime.
Sure, I agree with that. Every time I see like Howl's Moving Castle Air on the Netflix, I'm like, this has to be it. This has to be what I do.
I would have
I'm
watched
not.
House first if I was you.
Oh, okay. Just what would it be then?
Spirited Away first.
Oh, okay. You're onto something though. That's where it needs to be. I need to dive into Ghibli for sure. Luke, tell us all about Criminal Minds season 37.
Okay, well, I'm actually up to season 7 of Criminal
Okay.
Minds, which is what I have been watching during the week. It is fantastic. It is great. It is just it's a series that there's a lot of crime shows out there, right? There's 7 different NCISs. There's Law and Order. There's Bones. There's so many. Criminal Minds is very good. It stands out above all of them. The characters are fantastic. The villains are fantastic. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty with plot. They don't always. It's not a happy ending every single time, which is something that's really good. So if you're down for a series that you can sort of just watch while you're having lunch, then Criminal Minds should certainly be considered.
That was a great little summary.
Above Black Sails and Breaking Bad for sure.
Absolutely, that's an absolute good choice of the comment. I'll definitely be editing that out. But I must say, for real, I've been hating on Criminal Minds. I've been hating on this. I've been a doubter. I've been a naysayer. That was a solid seller. Because there is appeal to network crime shows. There is an appeal
absolutely.
there. And if you're up here saying it's top of the pack, then there's something to that. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, they had what's it? Who's George Costanza from Seinfeld? He was a villain in one of the episodes.
No,
and I didn't realize. And then I was sort of googling, like top 10 villains in Criminal Minds, and then I was like, oh my god, that was George. Because like you don't recognize him. Because for starters, I think he has like a wig on, but like it was like, oh my god, that's George Costanza. It's like, wow.
Is Criminal Minds the one where they had Justin Bieber as a villain, or was that like CSI something?
What?
No, not Criminal Minds, but I do know what you mean. I think that was something else. Justin Bieber he portrayed serial bomber Jason McCain in season 11 of CSI, Crime Scene Investigation.
There you go. He was a bomber, so they
probably was a serial bomber.
They blew him up.
Wow. That's awesome. I did it. I need to do it because I referenced it last week and I need to sort of have a bit of a follow up, and I watched The Last Airbender. M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's live action adaptation of the great series. And it sucks. Absolutely, it sucks. I'm going to make an argument though that it's not as it's like, dude, it's probably like what? It's got to be one of the worst rated movies on Letterboxd, right? Like it's got to be
probably.
Like just seeing all those ones, all those half stars up there, it's got to be like top 3 worst probably or whatever. I'm gonna make the argument it doesn't deserve that. To be honest, I feel like there's a bit of a choo-choo hate train with it, and I feel like
it does it. It deserves it.
I don't know. It sucks. I totally, dude. Some of the acting is so bad. Like, and talk about. And I totally understand the passion of the fan base, like now being a part of the fan base, not having the same nostalgia, but being part of the fan base now. I totally understand that people feel like offended by it in a lot of respects. Like some of the characters, like you don't understand. If you just watch this movie, like if I remove all knowledge of who the characters are from the series, I've just got no idea who any of these people are. I've got no, dude, who the hell is, like, other than the fact that they mispronounce all their names, like Sokka, like, Soccer, of course. Like, dude, he's got no character in the movie. Like, I don't understand who he is, why he's there. He just has like 5 lines of dialogue, and I'm expected to care. Same goes with Katara. Like, who the hell is this chick? Like, I don't know. Yeah, and all the bending looks terrible. Like, all the action. Why do they all move so slow?
Yeah, I love like that one scene like where like the one shot rather like where it's like 5 earthbenders and they have to like do like a 6-minute move and just like lift up a rock and then like float it across the thing.
That happens so many times. Well, like in the show, like obviously it's animated, but like all these fast fluid motions, like kicking, and the fire comes out of the thing and it's sick. And then in this freaking movie, it's like firebenders have to do like 3 dance moves just to get one flame to like move. It's like, dude, this shit's not exciting, not interesting. Oh god! But to be fair to and sorry, before I transition to like slightly, I sort of respect this actually. The plot is terrible. It's like so contrived, and I almost respect the laziness in literally like when you do an adaptation, you're adapting the entire first season of a TV show in 1.5 hours, and typically, you'd think if you wanted to do that, you'd want to, make changes, switch things around, make it so it makes sense that we get to where we get in the time period. They don't even bother. They're just like, dude, we're literally just going to cram the whole season in this time period right here, this hour and a half we've got, and it's going to be all over the place, and it's just going to keep moving, and you're going to have no time to get to know anyone. But whatever, dude, that's how lazy we're getting here. It's bizarre. It's totally insane. Like. And Katara like narrates the movie, and it's just basically like she comes in every 5 minutes just to like fill in the gaps of like, okay, so now we're teleporting here because we're jumping to season 1, episode 12 right now, and we just need to like make this make a bit of sense. So it's bizarre. But shout out to honestly the production design of the movie. I think the movie looks good. I think the set design is good. I think all the costumes are decent. I don't understand why they didn't, like the Fire Nation troops, like why can't their like stormtrooper mask thing is pretty iconic. I don't understand why they didn't do that. But outside of that though, I think like the realization of the world is actually pretty decent, and I wouldn't really expect much better of it. Like the Fire Nation warships look awesome, and all the sets and landmarks and locations from the show I think are done justice, and I think. Appa looks really cool. I feel like there are a lot of little areas there where they could have just like done terrible things, and I think they actually did do justice to the aesthetic of the show in those areas. So I want to make sure this movie deserves a lot of hate, but I feel like someone's got to throw something out there. So throw it a bone. So I think they did a good job there, but nonetheless, still not a good movie at all.
It's in season 3. It's towards the start. Like the Ember Island play. So
yes.
Like one of the criticisms that like I can't remember which character it is, but like people have taken it as like a comparison for the film, and like how like it's kind of it takes the events of the series but then just puts it in a shit way. And like one of the characters says, it was bad, but at least it looked nice, which is something that a lot of people say about and what you just said about like the movie.
That's so funny.
And like
That's
the way
so
like
accurate.
the play gets like so many things right, but in the wrong way, as if it is just all crammed together. Like, which is exactly what you're saying. It's like a lot of people have pointed to like the similarity between like that episode and like the movie and shit like that.
That's such a great point. It's exactly like that. I think visually, like the only area they really let me down in the action department. That shit did not look good. But
I think that one shot of like I think it's Aang sliding under like water, like towards the end of the film.
Excuse me, Jane. It's Aang.
Oh yeah, the Avatar. Yeah,
the Avatar. Dude, it's so bad, dude. They don't pronounce any of the. Yeah, sorry, Jane.
Yeah, I think there's like one nice action shot. That's it.
Yeah, it's not much.
It's interesting that you bring up like the acting because like it's like the kid that plays Aang was he's never acted before, and the only reason he got the role was because like his like dojo master said, "Hey, you kind of look like him. You should try out." And like, yeah, we'll put you in there. So for someone that's never acted before, sure, fine. Nicola.
Yeah, honestly, he was not the worst part.
Nicola Peltz is horrible.
Is he the? Who's she?
Katara.
Yeah, she's not good. No,
yeah.
She's not good.
And like,
I feel bad for her.
She rocks up again in Transformers 4, and she's not any better.
Mm.
God.
Even Dev Patel sucked.
yeah,
like,
even
and
he
that's obviously
was-
nothing against him because he's great. But like,
yeah, but Dev Patel did not do a good job. No, get the guy that plays Sokka. Even Jen
he was
Lyra,
so bad.
even Jen Lyra is not that great. I think he's okay, but he's not that great.
No.
And then like Azula appears at the end, and like
Oh,
he's really
dude,
quippy.
that scene was so bad. Special shout out to them having the balls to like try and have like a post credit scene moment where they're trying to set up the sequel,
Yeah.
and it's like it's like one of those characters from the second season of the show that's like an iconic character, and she's just there, dude. That she had like 5 seconds screen time, and somehow her performance was terrible. Like the way she like stares into the camera and like gives that evil smile. It's so terrible. It was terrible. It was really bad.
I think I don't know how to pronounce her name. Well, it's Yue in the show, but like I don't know how to pronounce her actually. Like the actress, I think it's like Seisha.
Oh yeah, something Gabriel. Yeah,
Yeah, she's fine, but I think that's because she's in a Nickelodeon show. I think I might have like a bit of bias towards that, but I think she's fine. Nickelodeon show, Disney show, I can't remember which one it was, but she was on one of those.
She was one of the biggest victims of the whole plot thing because she literally just turns up. I mean, to be fair, she sort of just turns up in the show too, but at least you get a bit of development. Like she's just here, and Katara's just like, and we met the princess, and she likes my brother a lot, and that's it. And then and then she does the whole sacrifice thing she does in the show, and it's just like, am I supposed to care? As always, now we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is your favourite non-linear movie? Aiden said, I liked Memento and Hateful Eight. 2 great choices. Michael says the movie Shorts. It has Kat Dennings, the hot chick from Two Broke Girls. She's the sister. Wish she was my sister. Michael, you've cancelled yourself, mate. All right, I appreciate that though. Alex said, I personally believe Spaceballs is the best movie of all time. Most non-linear. I haven't seen Spaceballs. Is that non-linear? Is that a joke?
I haven't seen.
There's only one scene in Spaceballs where they're looking at a video, and it's like watching the main characters earlier, and then it cuts to, and then like they fast forward the video because they're trying to find where they go, and then it's them, and they're like, "What are we watching now? What do you mean we're watching now? When? Just then? It's just gone." And then that's sort of a joke. That's like the only non-linear thing about it. Apart from that, I'm pretty sure it's
Oh, okay.
But yeah, good. So, I mean, Spaceballs. It's a good movie. It's a good choice.
I feel like I should see that.
Mm.
Now I'm just going. Many Discord friends said my favorite non-linear movie would have to be Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Tarantino did a great job with this film, with an excellent storyline, features great actors such as Bruce Willis and John Travolta. The collective we rate this movie very highly.
Was that 4 different people?
Yeah. I can't. I did not bother to write down everybody. It was a lot, and we appreciate that. That was of course, in direct defiance of what we said banning Pulp Fiction. So I don't appreciate that, but I mean, it's still a good choice. Luke said, while Pulp Fiction is a great answer, I'll respect the wishes of the almighty Sir Kaz.
Should I just say it?
No, stuff it. I'm reading the comment. And choose Little Women as my answer. You've already heard my review of the movie, so I won't go on a rant. I mean, he can't go on a rant. He's too bad he's not here to go on a rant. But it didn't even click that Florence Pugh was in Black Widow. So yeah, Luke, tell us about Little Women and your answer.
Didn't I explicitly say I wasn't going to go on a rant?
But now you're here. This was past you.
That is true. But I mean, I stand by it. I mean, well, because I couldn't. This is what happened. I wanted to say, is Pulp. Okay, I'll get to Pulp Fiction in a bit. But I googled non-linear films, and the first thing I saw that I'd seen was Little Women. So I said, okay, I'll choose that. But is Pulp Fiction non-linear?
Yes.
What do you mean? Yeah. By non-linear, do you just mean it cuts to different storylines? Or the storylines themselves are at different points in time?
Well, the film's clearly not linear. John Travolta dies, and then there's more with him in the movie.
Does he? Because I forgot. I couldn't remember what parts were non-linear. I know that the start is the end. But I couldn't. I was thinking
that itself is that's circular storytelling. So in itself, so I mean, like it's not.
But that's like one scene. But then I forgot that John Travolta died. So.
But even it's different. So like having circular storytelling and having just one scene connecting each is I get what you mean by one scene. It might be cheap, but like I think it's fair. Whereas if it was just a movie going from A to B and then there's one flashback in the middle, I wouldn't call that non-linear. That's just using a flashback,
Right.
But like, I think, when it comes to circular storytelling, I think that's fair. As non-linear because it's in the name.
Fair enough.
I understand there can be semantics, but it's the structure of the film. I think we all understand. See, my thing is actually, if I think about it, of course, we're talking about linearity. It has to be a Nolan film, right, for me. And Tenet is sort of linear.
It is, no, it is. So
It's linear.
So is Inception. So is Interstellar. No matter how many
Yeah.
times it plays with like time and like slowing it down and going, and like that, it still moves from A to B.
Absolutely. However, The Prestige isn't, and
The Prestige,
the Prestige would be
okay.
my answer. Yeah, because we start at the end. You know what I mean? And it does a few things like that. And, of course, because the film is structured with the two leads reading each other's diaries all over the place in time, and seeing that. So, but that's the funny thing, because I looked on my, I do the thing where I look on Letterboxd and look at my top movies and keep scrolling until something fits the criteria. And I was like, oh, Tenet, but no, Tenet is linear, which is funny because obviously the whole concept is that playing with time being linear, but the film is linear.
I think I like quite a few. I think Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind would be one of my favorites. In terms of actually like using a non-linear structure to like, enhance the feel of the film and like the themes. I think like Memento and Eternal Sunshine would be some of the best. Eternal Sunshine is like the concept is that Jim Carrey is getting his memory removed. He's getting his memory of Kate Blanchett. Wait, what's her name?
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. Yeah, Mare. Getting his memory of Mare removed.
Yeah.
And so the whole film, like, it like plays around that really well. Like plays around the memories, and it's a Charlie Kaufman written film, so it's very, very creative and like lots of like weird visual choices. Like the scene in like a library, and when that's happening, it's kind of like the back of the library is like fading out. Everything's becoming like more grey, more like white. To like play with the whole concept of memory and like decay and everything, and the whole film has this extremely weird structure, and like it's very confusing. You're watching, you don't know what point you're at, and the whole film's like a puzzle. I guess you can kind of figure out the whole storyline by the end, but it's not just about that. It's about the emotions of breakup and the relationship between the two. So yeah, it's awesome.
I really want to watch that movie. You go ahead, Jade.
Yeah, it's a difficult question because Spooky stole my answer, and then Andy stole Dunkirk from me. And I want to talk about Snatch again because I've mentioned Snatch that many times. Yeah.
They're all top choices.
And there's even there's movies that are hurt by non-linear. So like you've seen Annihilation, and I think both of you have, right? Yeah. So like the fact that starts with the end, or with a portion of the end, I think that actually hurts the film in that it removes a lot of tension that is needed throughout the film. I still think Annihilation is brilliant, but I think having that scene at the start detracts from the film. So like it's I don't know. Like is it Incendies? Is that's non-linear, right?
Ensemble.
Because it cuts between the mother's story and then the children's story, and it kind of
I would say
the way it reveals information, it uses that fact as as an actual tool, the way that Liam was used in talking about Eternal Sunshine, and kind of uses that, and so I think that's probably my answer. If we're not going with if in the case I don't want to double up, so yeah, so we'll see.
There was a great collection there, though.
How confident are you with that pronunciation, Liam? Is that?
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely not Incendies. It's like all like Encendies or something.
I've done like 4 French lessons on Duolingo, so I think I should probably.
I've done 5, so
Oh,
get ready,
Oh.
Spooky's here with like 6 years of language under his belt.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me, Jaden. I apologise to Andy. I prepared the document at a weird time. I botched that. But Andy said, for his favourite non-linear movie, hard to choose in it. It's probably going to be a Nolan film, Memento, The Prestige, or maybe even Dunkirk are more of his stronger non-linear films. But his debut following would most likely be my favourite because, low-budget indie filmmaking slaps. Anyways, Christopher Nolan's non-linear storytelling is remarkable as always. So he went through the cycle there that we sort of did. He ends up on Following. So that's an interesting choice. Following is an interesting film. I enjoyed, going back and watching it for a bit of research purposes, and it's pretty decent. I liked it.
For 3K and the first film. I think
Yeah.
it's pretty
It was
noble
like
effort.
7K, wasn't it?
I think it's 3,000 British pounds, but like 7K when you convert it to like I don't know
Okay.
whatever else it is.
Right. Oh, and Andy also gave he threw and he didn't write a review, but he gave American Psycho a 7 out of 10 for the record. As always, we'd love you to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film to us in the YouTube comment section. Send us a DM on Instagram or chuck it in the Discord, our beautiful, welcoming Discord community. And the specific question we'll be asking you next week is, what is the least favourite episode of a TV show that you really like? I should say, what is your least favourite? You know what I mean? Episode of a TV show you really like. Terrific question. And the answer's obviously Fly. Our poll announcement is going to be...
I actually finished that this week. Fly.
You got through it?
Yeah, after a couple months hiatus.
Yeah. That's exciting. Now you're back on the hype train. We have an Instagram poll this week to determine the film we will review in a fortnight's time. I am going one-on-one with Sir Traj over here.
Don't call me that.
Jaden, what film will you be nominating for this poll?
I'd rather hear yours first as the reigning as I am the current champion.
Oh, okay. I like that. I will be nominating Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York.
Oh fuck. Yeah, you'll win. Alright.
Okay, alright.
I am nominating Senna. It's a movie about the great Formula One driver Ayrton Senna.
Oh, yes.
It's on Stan. And I hope that there's a certain demographic that watches these that will come my way.
European?
Yeah, exactly. Fitzy.
Well, there you go. Go and vote in that Instagram poll. It'll be up within 24 hours of this episode going live. And of course, follow us on Instagram. Special shout out, we hit 200 subscribers this week on YouTube. Thanks everyone for subscribing.
Yeah.
We're currently resting exactly at 200 subscribers, so please no one unsubscribe or I'll cry. And that's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you very much, Luke, for jumping on. We appreciate your analysis and insight this week.
That's all right. My pleasure.
Thank you. Fitzy, what are we watching next week?
We're doing A Most Violent Year. Jessica Chastain, Oscar Isaac movie in Chicago or somewhere, some American city. And it's on Stan. I don't know fully what it's about, but yeah.
I've got no idea. You're just giving me the most information I know about it. But that was some good information, though. Oscar Isaac, Jessica Chastain, great. I'm in. All right. I appreciate the regular. I don't know why I like Luke. Thank Luke, and then but you two are the regular crew, so I'll thank you separately. Thanks for joining me as always. Have a great rest of your week, listener, and goodbye.